I think this is for the municipal association meeting.
So you'll be happy with that.
A little harder, and we'll get this thing going.
Turned off, okay, good.
Well, thank you all for coming. This is a public hearing here at 5:45 on May 24th. Press and public are notified. Thank you all for coming. We're here for the purpose of Ordinance 2016-05, an ordinance to raise revenue and adopt a budget of the City of Alabama, South Carolina, fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2016, ending June 30th, 2017. Linda, you're at the podium. Walk us through the details.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I want to thank the department managers and mayor and city council for all of your hard work over the last 4 months to get us to where we are today with this version of the budget. Lots of meetings, lots of hard work, lots of pencil sharpening. And while she's not here yet, I most especially want to thank Treasurer Suggs for her patience and her skill and her generosity as she has kind of tolerated us all over the last 4 months. So for those of you here from the community, just to acquaint you with the budget document and how it's arranged, the first few pages of the budget document contain the fund balance schedules, and these are extremely useful tools for us because what they contain is how we expect to end FY16. Then we treat FY16 with what's represented in this budget in the way of expenditures and revenues to get to what we would project the results to be at the end of FY17. So this offers us some assurances that fund balances and all the funds of the city would remain healthy once we treat the actions within this budget. So the fund balance schedules are the first things. That's followed by the general fund revenues and the general fund expenditures, then the capital projects revenues and the capital projects expenditures, the tourism revenues and expenditures, and this is normally where you will see the beach initiatives treated in the budget, the disaster recovery fund, and then the marina revenues and expenses, and then the capital projects and the debt service and the sources of funds to cover those expenses in capital projects and debt service. And then we wind up the budget document with the updated 10-year capital plan. So there's a lot of information in the budget document, so it's important to kind of take time and learn how to navigate through it. Probably the most important thing to say about this version of the budget is that it contains no tax increase, so yay. The major work initiatives from this budget are, first of all, savings. There's about $1 million put towards further savings for holding on to for future large expenditures. These are things like large fire apparatus and public works apparatus and those kinds of things where we are anticipating that when it becomes time to replace or to buy them, it is going to be a significant expense. So there is approximately $1 million set aside for savings. Another very noteworthy aspect to this budget is storm recovery. As everyone knows, we had Joaquin and the 1,000-year flood. And so this budget contains several initiatives that are related to that storm recovery. And this would be income and expenses because there would be some grant income and then also expenses. But the city has a 25% local share that it would have to absorb on most of these grant funds. So beach restoration, an emergency generator for the rec center, and then some drainage assessments and improvements that we would be doing in cooperation with Charleston County. So that is treated in this budget as well. We are going to need to replace the underground fuel storage tanks in 2 locations, at the Isle of Palms Marina and then also at the Public Works site. That's a total of 6 tanks for at the Marina and 2 at Public Works. And so we will be working through the roughly $800,000 in expenses to execute those replacements. There's some replacement lighting for the rec soccer field. It's $125,000. Then design initiatives for 2 projects marina redevelopment, and then also the replacement of the public restrooms. And the total of those two is approximately $500,000. And then trying to assemble funding for a major beach restoration project, likely in the winter of 2017, if all the parts and pieces of that funding can come together. And that does involve the pursuit of grants and also the pursuit of public and private funds to make that project happen. The city's part is estimated at about $2.8 million, and that's 20% roughly of the total cost that is similar to what we had in the prior beach restoration initiative. On the revenue side, increases in parking rates for the parking meters and the parking lots are expected to generate about $300,000 in additional general fund revenue. Then the transfers in from the tourism funds to support our operations are consistent with prior years, and that will support tourism impacts in police, fire, and public works. On the expenses side, in the general fund, 3 new positions are proposed to be funded, 2 in the police department, 1 human services in the general government department, or human resources, and then also the move from part-time to full-time for 1 position in general government. There are several re-budgets from prior years. These are things that are underway in FY16 that we expect to cross fiscal years to FY17. Some of those include NPDES compliance at the public works site, court security system, new financial software, and the local comprehensive beach management plan that is underway but not expected to be finished. Some other just interesting initiatives that are within this budget document. We are budgeting $12,000 to get an assessment done of all of the city's buildings. This assessment will serve as a guide for budgeting for the future for the needs of maintenance of the buildings. Currently, we have no guide for that. We will be expanding the city's video surveillance. There's about a $5,000 expense to that, to expand it to cover our public parking lots. And most of the rest of the Front Beach area has it already. Then there's some funding in the amount of about $30,000 for some advocacy related to what's being called the secret season. The goal of this would be to try to level out our tourism so it's not so all compacted into the summer months, but we can maybe get some activity in the shoulder seasons. And so there's some funds in there to look towards what we could do to try to attract people during that time of year and fewer people during this time of year, since we have all that we can handle. There's $24,000 towards an initiative to go more paperless and to save some trees. And then finally, funding to construct the golf cart path between 18th and 20th Avenue. That amount is estimated at $92,000, and this will enable people to get via golf cart to the shopping center without having to cross the very busy Palm Boulevard. So those are the highlights.
Thank you very much. Any citizens wishing to address our ordinance, please come forward. Please.
My name is Patricia Ryan. I live at 6 Forest Trail, Court 1. I've been a resident here for over 20 years. I took home the budget, and I've been at the meetings listening to the discussions pro and con on different issues. I could not discuss all the things that concern me. One thing that is particularly concerning to me is the lack of funding of the disaster recovery. According to this, there's $2,240,000, let's say 2,241, it's rounded off. Now, I didn't live here for you go. However, I was here 2 weeks before the storm hit, and I had been a visitor here before. The devastation was horrific. I saw it. I live in New York at that time, and believe me, it's 24-hour news up there, and you work 24-hour news. This money that you have projected right now which should be considered sacred and should be added to, because the government, FEMA, will not come here for 5 to 7 days. You will be on your own. This amount of money you have right now, it might last you a day and a half, if you're lucky. You are responsible for all the citizens on this island. That is your number one reason, not the tourists, not anything else. This is a very, very serious matter, and I think that it has not been addressed appropriately. I know you have expenses. All I keep seeing in this budget is more and more and more, which is comparable to any government budget, because they take out what you used last year, and then they add a little bit more onto it. And it's like a shell game. You got accommodation tax, you got tourist tax, you got this, you got that. But if you had a Yugo, or even a minor storm, that cuts down on tourism. Okay? There goes the money that's funding the $10 million in debt you have right now. So who will that debt fall to? The 4,600 odd citizens of the city who live here will have to cough up for that debt, because you won't have the money to pay for it for at least 10 months. And I don't think anybody here really cares to face that. I just can't understand why an island like this, which is so rich in so many ways, should be so underfunded when it comes to disaster. And when disaster strikes, I, as a nurse for a long time, have seen disasters. The money goes out the window faster than you can count it. And what happened with Yugo, and you wouldn't let anybody back on the island, won't happen this time, because you got to connect it now. So they're going to be expecting to come back here and have those roads start being cleared. Okay? And the other thing, which is dear to my heart, is the marina. I was here and I voted for the purchase of it to save it from developers. And now the council, in its infinite wisdom, is turning it right over to those same developers. They've already invested $50,000 in some study that will make it, us the citizens, even to go there, we have to pay for parking. Okay, those who have golf carts won't. But I'm one of the ones who don't. I can't afford one. I don't have a garage to put it in. So I'll have to pay to park down there. I like to go down there in the morning sometimes and have my cup of coffee and look at the water. I don't have water views. It calms me. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel complete. And now you're going to turn it over to the developers and make it into another, try to make it into another Kiowa or Hilton Head. We're not that kind of an island. People voted to keep it the way it is with a reasonable amount of maintenance, which hasn't been done. You're going to take away the ramp that's working, that's got another 20 years of life on it, I heard that said here, and put in another one that's going to cost another $90,000 or something like that. I can't remember the figures offhand. Why? Just to make it more nice to look at? That's all I have to say. I'm sorry I took up so much of your time. But I think that some people have forgotten what this island is, and that there are residents who live here, and we vote you in to take care of us first. And that seems to be sorely lacking. And you know, there is a website on Facebook. There's an awful lot of ranting and raving going on there. They're not here tonight because most of them are not public speakers or just don't want to present themselves to say things. But if you read some of what they've written, there are people recognizing what's going on. And that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to address us?
Hi, I'm Joan Berger, and I emailed all of you last week about my issue with the parking, and so I wanted to see if anybody had discussed it or if there was any resolution. I'm building my house on 44th.
Well, that's between the public safety and the administrator. Did you ever?
The police chief and the building department are working together to try to come to a resolution concerning that, not just about your situation,
Right.
but about all of them under construction.
Okay, so when do you think they're going to decide? You don't know?
Well, I thought they had decided Friday, and today I learned that they haven't decided.
Because I haven't heard from anybody. That's why I came tonight, because I thought I'd see if there was any. As soon as possible.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay, so that's it?
So it's definitely a valid concern.
Okay.
And we're
All right.
trying to
Thank you.
Find a resolution.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Anyone else? Sir?
I just have a question.
No, you got to come to the mic.
Well, I didn't know if this was the time.
Well, there'd be a later time during council meeting.
You don't want to get Marie mad.
Well, my issue has nothing to do with the budget.
Fine. Then
We'll do it
you'll get it. Yep.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
You're on deck. How's that? And no one else? I'd like to then close the public hearing. Thank you very much. And